We'll start off the second day session of the 30th annual session today, the penultimate session. And as you would have seen yesterday, we have had very interesting talks, and today will also be full of lot of interesting and information talks. May I invite Lipika to take on the proceedings from here.
Thank you, Manju. A very, very warm welcome to all my friends here. A very good morning to you all. It's so wonderful, a year has gone by, and we are here to celebrate the 30th annual session of FLO. A very special welcome to our guests of honors, Ms. Sadhvi Bhagwati ji and Ms. Simran Bhargav ji. Thank you, ma'ams, for being here. May I invite Sadhvi ji, Simran ji and Malvika ji to please come and light the lamp. I would request Divya Oswal and Ritu Jain to invoke the divine blessings of Goddess Saraswati by singing a Vandana. Thank you, Ritu and Divya. Such an abundance of talent within our FLO family. It's so beautiful. Friends, this year has been very special because we complete 30 years of our existence. We have seen FLO grow from strength to strength, led by empowered presidents who have set a benchmark for others to follow. Meaningful programs relating to issues from education, health, wealth, business, and family have been covered from various angles and have empowered us. Under the leadership of our president, Malvika Rai, we got the opportunity to attend a series of very educative and interesting programs and celebrated the interstate in Delhi. Today, we have a talk titled The Inner Journey with Sadhvi Bhagwati ji and Ms. Simran Bhargav. May I introduce our speakers? Sadhvi ji was raised in a traditional upper-class American family in Hollywood, California, and graduated from Stanford University. She was completing her PhD when she left America in 1996 to come and live permanently at Parmarth Niketan Ashram on the holy banks of the river Ganga in Rishikesh. She has been living there since and engaged in spiritual study, practice, and service. She is founder and president of Divine Shakti Foundation, a foundation dedicated to bringing education and empowerment to poor women and children. Simran Bhargav has a master's in communication from Stanford University, again Stanford. She was a writer and editor with the India Today group for several years and also the first editor of Cosmopolitan in India. She also wrote a weekly column called Simran on Saturday in Financial Express, which became one of the most popular columns in the newspaper. For 5 years, she hosted her own weekly television show called One Life to Love on India's leading news channel, NDTV. The show focused on helping viewers lead a freer, happier life. She also anchored a 6-part television series on happiness with Deepak Chopra. Simran is a frequent speaker at international conferences organized by World Presidents Organization, Young Presidents Organization, Chief Executives Organization, and Entrepreneurs Organization, amongst others. She has also been invited to speak to the international boards of IBM, ITC, and other organizations. She is currently working on a book on India's gift to the world, Ancient Wisdom for Modern Times. And before we move on to requesting our speakers to share their thoughts with us, may I request Malvika to say a few words?
Thank you, Lipika. Good morning and welcome to the second day of our annual session. I hope you all were well rested after the dinner last night. Yesterday, I had spoken about our pledge on creating a climate of respect, keeping our women safe. I need not re-emphasize how important this subject has become in our country today. I have requested Bhagwati ji to dwell on this issue while she takes us through the topic of this discussion, today's session, the inner journey. I now hand over to Simran. Simran?
What is happiness? Where can it be found? And how can you make it last? People have been looking for these answers for years, and I've also been looking for years. I've done everything, EFT, Reiki, pranic healing, been through therapy, attended workshops, and read every self-help book written on the planet. And everything seemed to work, at least for a little while. And then one day you find that you're in your 40s, and none of the old answers seem to work anymore. By that time, you faced some rejection, some failure. You're not as attractive as you once were. You don't have the energy that you once had. Plus, you've likely lost someone you love. And the demands and duties on your life have grown and grown and grown. And none of the old sureties hold anymore. Overloaded, overwhelmed, underpaid, and undersexed. How to find happiness? खुदा मंजूर करता है, दुआ जब दिल से होती है, यही मुश्किल है लेकिन ये बहुत मुश्किल से होती है. The answer to my happiness question came unexpectedly, as it often does, accidentally, at a talk on Vedanta that I happened to drop into quite accidentally. I had no interest in Vedanta and no knowledge of it. I'm not even a Hindu, I'm a Sikh. And I had to meet a friend, and it was a freezing cold January evening. And instead of waiting outside, there was this talk going on inside the auditorium. And that 1 hour, accidental 1 hour, changed my life. Because when I left that talk, I left with goosebumps. Because here were the answers that I had been looking for. I'd been all over the world, and like the alchemist who travels everywhere, only to come back to find that the treasure was all the time buried under his own tree for 5,000 years. Our ancient wisdom contains the answers to a life that is rich with meaning, joy, contentment, answers that are both very profound and also amazingly practical for day-to-day difficulties. I'm remembering what the spiritual teacher, the beloved spiritual teacher Ram Das once said. He spent most of his life studying our scriptures and doing seva in India. He said, when it comes to economic development, America is a first world country and India is a third world country. But when it comes to spirituality, India is a first world country and America is a third world country. And while there's so much that's wrong with India, too many people, too much chaos, too much noise, too many politicians, too much corruption, there's also something that's very, very right here. Our spiritual legacy. It's like, here's this treasure right under our nose. But to find it requires one secret. It requires a U-turn, because the answer isn't out, out, out. It's in, in. And once you embark on that journey, that spiritual journey, it's the mother of all adventures. And today Sadhviji is going to be sharing some insights from that inner journey and some of the treasures that lie waiting there. She's also going to be talking about the divine feminine and how to reclaim that space in our life that many of us may have lost touch with, that is strong, secure, and centered. She's a really amazing person. I spent an hour with her yesterday, and I came back from that meeting feeling mysteriously uplifted. Now, here's a woman who has a PhD in psychology from Stanford University. She's made India her spiritual home since the age of 28. She speaks good Hindi. She is beautiful, and she's a black belt in karate. So before I ask Sadhviji to begin, may I request you just for a minute, just to close your eyes, sit up straight, and let go of all worries, all anxieties, all the things that need to be done. And bring your mind fully into this room so that what she says can be heard and received at a deeper level. Because this 1 hour will never come again. Please open your eyes. Sadhviji, over to you.
Thank you so much, Simranji. It was wonderful to spend the time with you last night and to hear your reflections this morning. It's such an honor and such a joy to be with you all here. I apologize in advance if in the middle of talking I have to cover my mouth and cough or sneeze or something. My commitment to Malvika ji and love for what Ficky and FLO are doing brought me here, even though I've been having a pretty severe flu, sinus, something. Anyway, So just apologies in advance for that. The topic that Malvika ji had asked us to speak about today, the inner journey, strong, secure, centered, is so beautiful because most of us spend our lives being told that the journey is an outer journey. From the time we're very, very young, but tragically it doesn't end when we're young, it continues. But we're told that the journey is an outer journey. It's a journey from elementary school through high school, through college, through university, through advanced degrees, or if you look at it career-wise, it's a journey through being a clerk, to being an associate, to being a vice president, to being a president, to being a CEO. It's a journey from vacationing in the backyard, to vacationing at the beach, to vacationing at Club Med, to vacationing on your own private island in the Caribbean. It's a journey from the house of your father to the house of your husband, to the house that we try to make our own house and are not quite sure exactly what that means. It's a journey, as Simranji was speaking so beautifully, of going from being young to being young and beautiful, to then realizing that we're not quite as beautiful as we once were as we age, and then starting to try to find, well, what else is there? What's the beauty in this new stage of life? And so we're told over and over again, whether we're looking at it from an education background, from a career background, from a financial background, from a social status background, whatever frame of reference we use, it's an outer journey. And we pass through each aspect of it through an attainment of something, an accomplishment of something, an acquisition of something that then propels us to the next level. And the problem becomes that actually what we're looking for on these journeys, which is happiness, which is peace, but it's not that fleeting happiness. It's not the happiness of, oh, I ate a chocolate ice cream cone, now I'm really happy, it tasted good. Or, oh, I had this wonderful afternoon at the movies with my friends, I'm so happy. But we're looking for a happiness that is stable. A happiness that doesn't go up and down. A happiness that isn't something that, well, when the clock strikes such and such and the movie starts, then I'll be happy. A happiness that's grounded within us, that is centered. And we're looking for peace. But again, it's not a peace that is an empty peace. It's not a peace that's the absence of something, the absence of war, the absence of conflict, the absence of violence. But we're looking for an alive peace, a vibrant peace. And that doesn't come from the outer journey. And it reminds me of one of my favorite stories that I love to share, of a woman who was in the road in the middle of the night, and she was down on her hands and knees and like this on the road looking for something underneath this very bright street light. And a holy man walks by and he says, "Mother, what are you looking for?" And she says, "Oh, I've lost my key. Can you help me find it?" So he says, "Sure." And he also gets down on his hands and knees, and they do this on the ground for some time. And after not finding it, he asks her, he says, "Mother, where exactly did you lose your key?" And she says, "Oh, I left it in the house." He says, "Well, if you left it in the house, then why in the world are you searching for it in the road? And she says very matter-of-factly, she says, well, because in my house there's no electricity. I have no light. It's very dark. And outside here, there's this very bright street light. And so I thought, let me come out here and search for it where the light is bright. He says, Mother, go back inside. It may take some time. You may have to wait until the sun rises in the morning, until there's light. But you'll never find your key out here. An army couldn't find your key out here. Go back inside. And I love that story because it's such a beautiful metaphor for the tragedy of our lives. It's not that having an advanced degree or owning an island in the Caribbean or being fabulously successful can't go hand in hand with happiness. Of course it can. In the same way that there's nothing inherently wrong with being in the road in the night. If she had said, oh, I'm out here enjoying the moonlight, I'm taking a walk, I'm getting some fresh air, wonderful. The only problem and the only thing that makes the story a story is that she was looking for something out there that doesn't exist. And that's what happens. It's not that you have to forsake your degrees and forsake your success and forsake your wealth and forsake all that you've spent decades of your life attaining in order now to find that happiness or in order now to have that inner journey. All you have to forsake is the illusion that that which you're looking for is going to be found there. That somehow just one more layer, just one more rung of that ladder is going to make the difference between being able to say, I'm okay, right here, right now, with exactly what I have. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. And yet, as a scientist, my background is in science, and I love science. And so even though I've shifted my focus to spirituality, the scientist in me is still very much alive, and I particularly love it when science and spirituality overlap, when science begins to tell us, and of course they always call it discovered or invented, as though somehow they were the first ones to know this, when they start to reiterate for us what our sages and saints and rishis have told us for thousands of years. And so I conducted a little scientific experiment myself, and that was after I had been in India for about a year or two. I went back to America and I did a little study of people I know. I chose 10 or 12 people, all of whom were at the absolute pinnacle, the highest point of achievement in their field. So someone, for example, who was a well-known Hollywood actress. Okay, well, if you're an actor or an actress, you'd love to be a well-known Hollywood name. Someone who is a billionaire, CEO of a top company. Well, if I go into business, ideally, ultimately, I'd love to be a billionaire CEO of a top company. Someone who was a tenured professor at Stanford. Someone who played for the LA Lakers. Someone who was a singer who had a song in the top 10. So a whole bunch of different fields, but people who had reached the absolute height. And they were all people I knew, so I was able to do the scientific study without them knowing. Because of course, if people know what you're looking for, then they tend to not necessarily give it honestly. So what I did on this particular trip was I went out of my way to speak to each of them, some of them in person, some of them on the phone. And in the midst of a long, chatty conversation about my life in India, their life, I asked them my one scientific question. And that question was, are you happy? And that was ultimately what I was looking for. Are you happy? And what I got in every single case, 100% of the cases, was either I will be happy when, and you fill in the blank. It was different from person to person, but I will be happy when the kids grow up and move out of the house and go to college. I get the promotion I've been working for. I lose 10 pounds. My husband stops working so much, whatever. Or I would be happy if, again, fill in the blank, the kids would clean up their room. My husband would work less. My employees would not fight me on everything I told them to do. I could squeeze back into the skirt that I wore last year. Not one of them. People who have attained what the rest of the world is forsaking everything to try to get to. Whatever field we're in, that's what we hold as the ultimate goal. And we're giving up our own physical health, time with our families, our spiritual practices, time in nature, time for introspection, time to appreciate art in any form. Why? Because I just have to finish this, with the idea that somehow, well, when I just get to that point, then it'll be enough. And yet here are these people who have reached that point, who have reached what most of us in our wildest dreams don't actually expect to reach in this lifetime. And there's still one thing between them and happiness. And that one thing is what steals our lives. That one thing is what keeps us believing the indoctrination that says the journey is outer. Oh, you're not happy. Well, it's because you're driving last year's model car. Oh, you're not happy. It's because you vacationed at the wrong place. Oh, you're not happy. It's because you use the wrong brand of makeup, or you weigh too much, or you're not wearing this, or you're not wearing that, or you don't go here, or you don't own that, or you don't look like this. We laugh. And it's good to laugh because it means that at least sitting here in this environment, we're able to see the insanity of it. And yet, advertising is a billion-dollar industry. It wouldn't be a billion-dollar industry if it didn't work. It feeds on the fact that inside of us, we believe there is still something between us and enough. And when someone or something tells us that they have that thing, we believe it.